Hello everyone, it's Mr. Payne here. I'm going to show you something we've got access to in the school recently called Epic Books. Now, Epic Books is basically an online library. So if you haven't got a lot of books at home, you can log on to Epic Books using the class code I'm going to show you in a minute, and you can read online. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be uploading different videos each week, sort of reading through some of the stories, talking about some of the things we've read, and you're going to have an option to suggest a book as well that I can read later on. So here's how you use Epic Books. The first thing you want to do is just go onto your internet browser, and if you just type in Epic Books, it's this top link up here. So you can just click on that, and it'll take you to this page. Now when you get here, there's obviously the big login button. We're going to click on Students and Educators, because you're logging into the school account. And here it says Student Login, do you know your class code? Ask a teacher. Now our class code is this one down here, NKP0528. So I'm going to type in NKP0528, and that will load up our class page. So here's everyone's names. You can see some people have been reading already, someone's level 6 over here. You can change your picture, so some people have already been on and changed their picture as well. And I've got my test account here I can log into. And on this, you can see all of these different books. So there's books that people are reading now all across the country, across different countries. There are books that will be suggested for you. So as you read more, it will suggest more books for you. And across the top, you can see some different options as well. So I can go on books that are accelerated reader, and I can choose roughly what my level is. So if I'm let's go for a yellow book, that's from 3 to 3.9. I can click on 3 to 3.9, and these books are all inside that level. So it'll tell you down here the AR level is 3.0. Oh, got an achievement. Now, as you read through the books, I can click on a story, for example this one here, Animal Adaptations, and if I press play, it will start reading it to me.
My Science Library, Animal Adaptations by Julie K. Lundgren.
Now, if you don't want it reading to you, that's fine. You can ignore this, just pause it, and you can flick through pages yourself. So if you click on the edge of this page, it'll flick it across and it'll go through the book. Now, if for example there's a word I'm not sure about, for example adaptations, you can click on those words as well, and it will tell you how to pronounce it, and it will tell you what that word means as well. So for any vocabulary you're not sure about, that's a really simple way that you can go from there. So if I read it through, I'll eventually get to the end of my book, and if I flick through it too quickly, the system will recognise that and say you've not really focused on it enough. But at the end I can take my quiz, and that's all about this book. It won't get added to your accelerated reader login, but you can do a separate accelerated reader login test afterwards as well. So I'm going to start my quiz, and it says adaptations help animals to survive, and it'll give me the answers just like normal. Now, something else that's really interesting with this is at the top you can search for specific books. So not all books are on here. For example, if I search for Harry Potter, it hasn't got the normal Harry Potter books just because they're not on this system. But there are books that are similar, so it will suggest similar kind of books. There's one here about wizards, witches and dragons. There's one about Emma Watson, who's one of the actresses in Harry Potter. But if you search for different languages, this system also has a lot of books in foreign languages as well. So if you are a Spanish speaker, this could be a way of reading some books as well. Or if you're just interested in trying to look at a book and try and learn a new language, really helpful way of doing that. So I've got Los Oceanos. I'm going to assume that means oceans, and I can again flick through, and it will tell me there's no definition there, but if you want to have a look at some different books in different languages, that's a really interesting thing to do as well. I'm trying to learn Spanish, so slowly looking at some different books is helping me to try and understand that a little bit more. Finally, let's go to the top of the page. I can click on videos, and some stories have got a video that read it through to me. So these are all Spanish ones, some of the Spanish section. So let's quickly go back. So I'm not in the Spanish section. So I go on videos, and it'll read me some books to me and show me some different videos I might find useful. Or along the top up here, I can click on these bars and see all these different bits of information. And if I'm interested in science experiments, it will link into that specific topic. So there's lots of things to play around with. At the top of the page, you can see up here there's a My Library button, so I can click on that. And when I've been reading a book, I can favourite it and put it up here. I can also see my recent books. So if I start a book and I don't quite finish it, I can go back and read that one again. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to read a little bit of a book to you. Now, something that we've been looking at researching for before Easter, was all about Charles Darwin, who, if you've done the research, I'm sure you know is a really important but really interesting character as well. He's a person who came up with the idea of evolution, so that's how animals change over time. So what I've done is I can go into the search bar at the top, and I'm going to put in the keyword Charles Darwin. Make sure I spell it right. And if I search for that, I can see lots of books all about Charles Darwin. So there's different ones. I can choose whichever one I want. There's also a bit of a video down here if I want to watch it afterwards. But I'm going to choose one of these books and just read a little bit about you. So I'm going to choose this one here. It's called What Darwin Saw. So if you want to, you can choose this book afterwards and have a read of it yourself as well. And it says, What Darwin Saw by Rosalind Chancer. Travel alongside naturalist Charles Darwin and read his lively and awestruck words about the wonders of the world. So we can see the things that he saw and have some of the words that he said as well about it, which is really quite interesting because he lived a long time ago. So I'm going to read a little bit of this book to you. So it says, London, England, September 5th, 1831. This is Charles Darwin, a popular 22-year-old who loves to hunt, ride fast horses, and collect all sorts of things from rocks to small sea creatures to beetles. Even though Darwin has never been much of a student, he is destined to become one of the greatest scientists in history. And why is that? It is because Darwin's astonishing discoveries will forever change the way people think about our planet and every single thing that lives here. Darwin has just been offered the post of a naturalist companion to the captain of Her Majesty's ship, the Beagle. This well-built but little sail vessel has been specially fitted out to make a scientific journey all the way around the world, and at the time that was something that was never been done before really. Carrying an excellent crew of 74 men, it's under orders to chart the coast of South America and to figure out the correct longitude of certain places in the South Pacific. Darwin's great adventure will last 4 years, 10 months and 2 days. It will affect everything he does for the rest of his life. How can that be? Well, to find out, let's join young Charles Darwin himself as he tells the story in his own words. You can even follow his journey by looking at the map on pages 46 and 47. We've got two important people at the bottom. We've got Charles Darwin, and we've got Robert Fitzroy, who's captain of the Beagle. And we're having a bit of a conversation as well. I'll let you read that if you want to. And now this book started out a bit like a comic book, so it's a bit more accessible, a bit more interesting. So it says, The voyage begins, December 27, 1831. Carried all my books and instruments on board. I have just room to turn round and that is all. I intend sleeping in my hammock. Last night I experienced a most ludicrous difficulty in getting into it. My great fault was in trying to put my legs in first. With every sail filled by a light breeze, we scudded away. Soon became seasick. Raisins, the only food the stomach will bear. So this is an extract from his diary. You can see little bits of information that they've pulled out and are using to help tell the story. Now, on the journey, they had a bit of a different act we did. So it said, sailors initiate 32 poor devils crossing the equator for the first time. So what they did was when they first went across the equator, that centre part of the world, they used to have a bit of a ceremony to celebrate that. And here they can see them doing that ceremony. And it says, 4 of Neptune's constables lathered my face with pitch and paint and scraped some of it off with a saw. And then I was tilted head over heels into a sail filled with salt water, where two men ducked me. Most of the others were treated much worse. Bag of tricks. I proved today the utility of a contrivance which will afford me hours of amusement. It is a bag 4 feet deep, made of bunting, and dragged behind the vessel. This evening, he brought up a mass of small animals. So he's basically going fishing. If I'm not sure what a word means, I can click on contrivance.
Contrivance.
And that's something as a scheme or mechanical device produced with skill and cleverness. So that could be a word I try and use in my writing, or that's just something I've learnt now. Now for now, that's where I'm going to pause. It's not a very long book. There's lots of really cool pictures. It tells you all about the animals he saw there, as well as some of the other humans he saw as well. There's a little bit about some bones he found, and later on it talks about some of the different groups of people he saw as well. So it's really quite an interesting story. And then, as always, at the end, when we've skipped through it all,
Weed.
there's the index, there's a little bit of a book wrote from the author, and then you can find some similar books about it as well. Now, I hope you've found that interesting. I hope you all give Epic Books a go. I can see who's been reading a lot on there, so it's really helpful for me as a teacher, and I can see what ideas people have got. And later on I'll be setting some specific books as well. So when you log on, it will say, Mr. Payne set this book, have a read. But for now, you've got a bit of free choice. I hope you're well, and I hope it might be a bit strange seeing me on a video. It's not our greatest video quality, but it's been lovely talking to you all.